Spanning the globe to bring you the constant variety of art, it's the Tenet Podcast. I'm Todd Pearson, and joining me from Rapid City, South Dakota, my partner and friend, you know him as quite possibly the most interesting man in the world, the one and only Wes Brown.
Hey, Todd, how you doing? Oh my God, just seems like yesterday I saw you.
I know.
This is going to be the last one of the month, and then we're going to kick into month of photography. This is great. This is a great episode to end the month on. So I'm just saying.
I agree. I'm super stoked for this interview today that we're doing. Before we get into it, I want to mention a cool opportunity to our listeners. If you live in the United States, it's a call for entry for the Gilpin County Arts Association's 76th annual Juried Art Show. It's the longest continuous running juried show in Colorado and in the Midwest. For more information, you can go to cafecallforentry.org and search Gilpin County Arts Association. There you can find all the rules and stipulations. It's open to 2D, 3D mixed media, and photography. You can also find out more by going to gilpinarts.org. And I do have a link to the call for entry on our Tenet Facebook page. So if you want to search that out. The entry deadline is April 15th, 2023. There's cash prizes involved, so go check it out. It's a great opportunity. And the museum where they will present this art show is really fantastic up there in Central City. Some cool stuff going on up there in the mountains. And one more thing, I'm doing a couple artist talks for month of photography for my exhibit, Return of the Corn Mothers, that's currently on display at History Colorado. Those are happening Saturday, March 4th and Saturday, March 18th on the 4th floor of the museum from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. The talks are free and open to the public, but they're asking that you RSVP via the Chicano Humanities and Arts Council website, and that's chacgallery.org, chacgallery.org. All right, Wes, you want to talk some art?
Let's talk some art. I love it.
All right. Our guest this week is an incredible painter who focuses on the human form. You can check out his work at his website, SteveMorrellArt.com, and you can follow him on Instagram at Steven Morrell. Steve, welcome to the program.
Thanks. Thanks for having me. I just wanted to say that I'm actually really honored. I was looking through the list of artists that you've had on in the past, and they're artists that I really look up to, and I'm excited to be in the same sort of considered worthy of being interviewed, just like they are. So yeah, thanks so much for having me. It's really an honor.
I've been looking at your work on Instagram and on your website, and man, your stuff blows me away. I'm really excited. This is going to be a fun conversation to have with you. So we're honored to have you on. Really are.
Thank you so much. It's great to hear that.
Yeah. Yeah. What's funny is, we just connected a little over a week ago, but I'd seen your art before. I had seen some of your work down at Bridge Project, at least one of those shows. So I know you have that affiliation. And then I got to see a piece of yours over at Valkyrie Gallery. And then you're part of a group show right now that runs through February 25th, this coming weekend. Talk about that a little bit.
So there's a tattoo shop called Memento Mori. It's right next to that other building that houses all the other galleries. And I found them on, I guess it was Cafe. I sent them a piece of one of my really big pieces, one of the ones I'm most psyched to get displayed whenever I get a chance to show it. The opening was just about a month ago. I'm going to have to run there this week to take it down to take it to another spot. But yeah, it's just one of the places that I'm always looking to find to hang my work on their walls. I'm still really new to this, so any opportunity I get, whether it's a gallery or a coffee shop, I take it. So yeah, so it was fun to be there, and it's great to get eyeballs on the work. Like I said, I'm still new to this, so wherever I can get the eyeballs is okay by me.
You live in Boulder, but you're originally from New York, correct?
Right.
Where in New York did you grow up?
So I grew up in a town called Yonkers, just above the Bronx, We used to call it the sixth borough. So that was where I spent my life growing up. Then I went to college out in Long Island. And then basically I stayed in the tri-state area. I lived in Brooklyn for a little while, and then I lived in Queens, a few different places in Queens. And then I came out here 6 years ago.
And what brought you to Colorado?
So I came to study Rolfing. I don't know if I mentioned that when we met. I came to study Rolfing, which is a form of body work. It's not an acronym. It was started by a woman named Ida Rolf. It's kind of like physical therapy meets chiropractic meets massage. It's a very alternative, very bouldery kind of modality of work. I was in advertising in New York and just wanted to change. I wanted to change careers. I didn't like advertising, and I just was looking to do anything that looked interesting. And I thought, oh, maybe I'll give this a try. So I came out here, studied for a little bit, and kind of got to the point where I was like, I don't think this is going to be something I'm going to be passionate about for the next 20 years. So I jumped ship. I'm still doing advertising as my day job, but it's a much different world out here. In New York, people are kind of proud of like staying late at night. It's a completely different vibe. Like out here at 5 o'clock, like everybody goes home, and in New York, people it's a badge of honor to stay late and work weekends. And that was what I was starting to get tired of.
Yeah, that'd be a bit burnout right there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, advertising is, it's a rough gig. I mean, it's filled with creatives, right? Like advertising is just loaded with frustrated creatives who didn't want to be poor. There's so much creative energy in advertising, and it's kind of a shame too, because so much of it goes to waste making ads for soda pop and pharmaceutical advertising or whatever the case may be. But you ever hear the term golden handcuffs?
Yeah.
It's like you're at a job that pays well, but it's crushing your soul, and there's really no alternative to, or no sort of immediate alternative to what you're doing at the moment. So, but I got the hell out of there, and I don't regret it. And
so now you said you still work in advertising in Denver. What is your focus in what type of advertising you're doing?
Sure. So I'm a freelance copywriter. So I work at a small agency here in Boulder. I write video scripts. I write headlines and taglines and body copy for websites, and I write emails. Anything where their words need to be involved, I'm involved.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah, it's. It's in terms of being creative. It's one of the jobs where you actually get to be creative and earn a half decent living. So
sure.
It's not making art, but it's not the worst gig in the world for creative people.
You're still generating those creative juices and flowing, and really working the brain. I mean, I work for a nonprofit, and doing copywriting is, man, it can be a chore. But once you get in that groove, if you're doing a bunch of it, and Todd can probably attest to this, what he does with our podcast. Once you're in a groove, it kind of flows. But yeah, so that's really interesting. How do you think doing copywriting has influenced your artwork, or has it?
I don't know if it has. They're two different worlds. I mean, one is language and one is visual. I think copywriting helps when I need to write something. Writing an artist statement, for instance, although despite the fact that I'm a copywriter, writing an artist statement is one of the hardest things on the planet.
Right.
But I do think that advertising has helped me as an artist in general. I mean, not copywriting specifically, but just being in that world. Because before I was a copywriter, I was a graphic designer, and I did that for 10 years. I wasn't a very good graphic designer, but I was a graphic designer, and I would lay out brochures and things. So I have a good sense of composition and things that just being a writer you wouldn't expect me to have.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I totally get that.
Yeah.
And so how were you able to pivot from, doing graphic design to being a copywriter? Did somebody just say, hey, do you want to write some copy? And they liked what you did, and so you just kind of pivoted into the whole copywriting thing?
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I was at this big agency in New York doing the nights and weekends thing and working really, really hard. But I was doing the graphic design stuff. And one of the executive creative directors there just asked me one day, she's like, you ever think about being a copywriter? And I was like, yeah, as a matter of fact, like I'd actually seen a lot of copywriting come across my desk that I would have to then design and put into layouts and stuff. Or, like I would be laying out, for instance, like storyboards for commercials. And I'd be seeing these ideas and I'd be thinking, I mean, I can come up with this. I know I can come up with this. I can come up with better than this. So when she said that, I was like, yeah, absolutely. She was like, take a class or two, and then we'll see about getting you out of the graphic design department and into the creative department proper, because they're separate entities in the ad world. At least in the larger agencies. So yeah, with her as my sort of sponsor, I was able to make that move, and I got thank her for doing that for me every day, because that was a key moment in my life. That was a key pivot in my life that really changed it.
Yeah, no, that's pretty cool. It's really refreshing to have somebody like take trust in you and say, I think you'd be really good at this. Do you ever think about doing it? And then guiding you that way. I mean, that's just an ego boost in itself, that somebody cares that much. So
yeah, it was nice to have her notice that and to take me under her wing and really make that happen for me.
Yeah.
Copywriting is interesting because you can't fake being a good writer. You can be an art director or a graphic designer, and you can do some things and you can be mediocre at it and get away with it, but like you can't write badly. You can't fake it. You can write and you can do anything badly, but you can't fake good writing.
Obviously, in today's world with Chat GTP, how do you think that's going to impact the copywriting field? Obviously, it's going to be huge, right?
Yeah, I'm scared to death. I'm not going to lie. It's very rudimentary now. It won't do the specific things that I need to do in advertising very well. Like I asked I'm using it. I asked it the other day. I said, can you, write me headlines for, we were working for instance, on it was a internet service provider. Write me some headlines about, this new offer that they've got, and you've got to input the right words to get the right response. So I was noodling with that and trying to nuance that to get it to give me what I wanted. And it didn't. Like, if anything, it's a good brainstorming tool, because like it might spit out a word that I didn't think about using. So for that, it's great. But just the other day, I also used it to create some website copy for a company that does like customized like camper van renovations. And it was great. It gave me almost everything, not quite everything I needed. Like I still needed to go in and massage the copy, but it was like 75% there, because it was really just a laundry list of like all their services, that kind of like blocking and tackling copywriting. It gets done really well. So,
I think it would be, for me, when I was writing copy for this nonprofit, the hardest thing was just to get started. So I thought when I kind of played around with it, and I thought this is a really good way to get a rough draft. And then you can, gives you something to work with,
Exactly. It's really good for that. And this is just the first version or two. Like they're going to keep, every next version is going to be better than the last. So I'm a little nervous about it. I think it might be a while before it actually replaces my job. But I mean, for people that are like content writers, I mean, their days are numbered. They must be quaking in their boots. People who are just like social media managers they're writing copy. And if that's a big part of their job, like anyone who's just writing basic sort of like, product copy, things like that, all that stuff's going to be replaced by ChatGPT.
Wow.
It's a brave new world, isn't it?
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know much about this other than, I've seen a bunch of headlines as of late come across my news feed and all that. So I'm glad you discussed that. And that's what I was thinking. Well, it sounds like it would be a great like start to something, the rough draft thing, like you both mentioned. And so you're just punching in keywords.
You write a sentence, like you ask it to do something. You say, write me a 50-word description about the services offered by a camper van renovation company.
Okay, so you're actually feeding it a little bit more specific type stuff into the algorithm or whatever.
Yeah. It's right. It's better than Google.
Yeah.
Like with Google, you would do that. You're like camper van company services, and maybe that's it. Maybe you put in another word, but Here you get to be really specific, and it brings together all the information from Google and every place else, I guess, on the internet. So
yeah, I just testified in front of the South Dakota State Education Committee on civic education, and the night before I typed in 500-word essay on why civic education is important, and it blew out. And it did that kind of basic intro, like 3-paragraph, and then a conclusion, and it was like, wow, this is a great start. And then I just kind of honed it in, and I had my presentation. It was really cool and scary, like you said.
Yeah, it's great for that stuff. I mean, if you want to create copy with personality, that's where you've really got to step in and give it the human touch, because it's not good at that.
Yeah, no, that's interesting though. Thanks for sharing on that, because it's topical. So. Yeah. And we like to keep our hands on the pulse of the American culture, right?
We're so hip.
How does it work as far as, does it use good vocabulary and that sort of thing? Or is it pretty basic?
It's all perfectly coherent language. It's intelligent. It's not necessarily like written for like a third grader either.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's really cool. And I heard the next version is like it's on steroids. So this is just, we're just going to have to embrace it and use it as a tool and use it what it's meant to be, and,
It's like the NFT of the copywriting world.
Right.
You can complain about it, or you can just, like you said, embrace it and see what's coming next.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, look at it as a tool, like you said, Wes, and you just got to roll with it, because it's affecting every single industry. Technology has affected every single industry. It's amazing, that it's almost amazing that it's taken this long to get into the world of writing, I guess, because you would think that would have been one of the first things that we would start seeing with technology. But yeah, with all the AI stuff that we have going on these days and what it can do, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
The nice thing is that you paint, and it's not going to replace painting. I mean, AI can, make a digital painting or whatever, but the actual practice of painting, the physical practice of painting, and having an actual piece, a physical piece, that's not ever going to change. And I've thought about this a lot. It's one thing with photography, because, most photography these days is digital. And so, what I do for a living, if somebody can generate imagery that they didn't have to pay for, that they just stick it into some kind of processing program and it shits it out the other side. I can't really blame people for wanting to do that,
Sure.
If you're a small business and you're on a shoestring budget, you saw it with the advent of digital photography and how many people were doing photography now and call themselves photographers. It's the same thing with the AI thing, and you just got to roll with it and realize.
Same thing with graphic design. When all those graphic design programs came out in the end of the 80s and the 90s, all of a sudden everyone was a graphic designer.
Yep.
And there's tons of graphic design out there, bad graphic design out there still. So, yeah, I mean, every advance creates a new mass of mediocre work, right?
Right.
Yeah.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah, but valuable stuff always rises to the top, to the surface.
Sure,
that's true.
Sure.
Yeah.
So since we're talking about AI and the advent of digital AI for artwork, are you worried about them taking your style and recreating, let's say, images of other people in your style? Is that something because you have a very distinct style of art. So do you worry about that at all, or not so much?
I mean, again, I'm so new to this that I would be honored for someone to steal my style. I mean, not quite. I would be also annoyed, but it would be more of a flattery than anything else if someone decided that my style was worth stealing to create masses of, computer generated, mass produced work.
Right.
But yeah, I'm not worried about that. And I'm not worried about NFTs and digital art either in general. Whereas I'm worried about ChatGPT taking over my job. I'm not so worried about AI or NFTs or anything. I mean, I don't know. Is anyone even talking about NFTs anymore? I feel like a year ago,
we just had that
over the world, and now I haven't heard boo.
right?
We just had this conversation recently, Wes and I, and we're like, the NFT thing was such a huge deal, like, a little over a year ago. And now it's like, you don't really hear much about it, or there's not a lot of, chatter on the internet about it, seems like. So I don't know. I guess with maybe the crypto thing kind of taking a hit, maybe that's kind of been pushed to the wayside, or at least for the time being.
Yeah,
maybe
we'll have to look into that. Keep our ears open and see what's happening.
Have you explored NFTs at all?
I made one once and put it on OpenSea just for the sake of doing it, and then forgot all about it. I haven't even gone back to see if anyone's looked at it or anything. I just wanted to somehow be a part of the wave if I could, in some small way. But yeah, that was the extent of my involvement with it.
Yeah.
I took one of my images and just kind of digitized it, created sort of a bitmappy, pixelated area of it. And I was like, there you go, NFT.
There you go.
See how that, I don't know any programs that I would be generating real, actual CGI stuff or digital native stuff.
I think a lot of people did that, when all of a sudden that was all you were seeing on your news feed and stuff. Like, a lot of artists jumped on that bandwagon. They created an NFT or 3, and then it didn't really go anywhere or get much traction. They're like, I'm going back to doing what I know and doing what I do
God
best.
God bless the ones that were able to make any money out of it. But
yeah, there was a few that were making tons. So
yeah.
Maybe it's just that we haven't heard about it because there's been so much talk about other things. So maybe it's still percolating in the subverse or something. But.
Yeah. Maybe it'll be back.
When North Korea is threatening nuclear disaster, right? That's
then we'll
probably
worry
not
about
on most people.
NFTs.
Yeah. And there's a lot of bad writing out there as far as I'm concerned. I'm always amazed when I pick up a magazine and I'm just like, how the hell did that even pass somebody that edits?
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel the same way?
Tons. Oh yeah, there's tons of bad writing out there. Also a lot of it's generated overseas. They're probably farming this work out to someone in Mumbai to write copy in their second language. I had to do some work the other day, and in my research, I came across some article. I was like, this is not even English. This was clearly not written by someone who knows the English language very well. So yeah, there's tons of bad work out there.
I get disappointed when I see it in, a major publication, something like, I don't know, Vanity Fair, something like that. Same with photography too. I'm like, how does that pass the mustard? When you see something that, is poorly lit or out of focus or any of that stuff. So I feel like in general, things have been kind of dumbed down a little bit. But that's why I think I really appreciate what you do, and anybody that paints, or, there's that physicalness to the medium that they're working in, that can never be replaced. I think about that all the time, actually.
Yeah. Now, I don't embrace the technological world that we live in. I'm a very analog guy. I always think I was born in the wrong decade because, I don't like to get on my phone. I don't like to be on my computer. In fact, it actually is a hindrance because after spending all day at work, for instance, if I got my laptop open, I don't want to go and open it up again to get all the things I got to get done for my life. So it actually stops me from getting some of that done sometimes because I'm just I don't even want to do this anymore. I'd rather do it the old fashioned way. Sometimes I'd rather just go to the store than search online. You know what I mean? I prefer to be analog. So painting and working with my hands and being physical is just so important to me. I really feel like I'm just where I belong when I'm in my studio, like no other place and no other sort of facet of my life do I feel more comfortable than when I'm in my studio.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, that makes total sense to me.
And also just the nature of technology is linear, right? It's very logical, and it's not an artist's brain, I feel like artist thinking is nonlinear and all over the place. It's one of the reasons why I think I've been good at copywriting and brainstorming. So when I'm in a room and with another art director, another creative person. We're coming up with ideas. It's all like power of association. It's like this came from this, and like this fragment of this is now part of this, and it's all very messy and chaotic. And I feel like I do my best in those environments. I mean, I've got some pretty wicked ADD, so the last thing I do is think linearly. Like I'm just very all over the place all the time, and I actually think it helps being. It helps me to be an artist. I'm sure there's lots of ADD artists that you've talked to that probably have said the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can't tell you how many people I know that either are officially diagnosed, professionally diagnosed with ADD, or, they live with it and they know they're ADD, but they're not medicated or anything. But I know plenty of artists that are medicated, and to help them bring it in, reel it in, right? It's hard. I feel like I have some of that. Wes, do you feel like you have?
Not as much. I don't think I'm not as much as like my son. Oh my God. Speaking of ADD, I mean, he was medicated in school for ADD, but and you can tell because he's, musically very talented and all over the place. And but yeah, he didn't get it from me. His mom is kind of crazy though. No, I'm just kidding. She's not. No, I don't think I don't feel like I have that much. I probably do now. It's more memory thing, but that's age thing. That's what's scaring me, but that's a little different.
Yeah.
I was medicated for it. Not as a kid. When I was in my 30s, I started taking it, and it was. I mean, at the time, I wasn't making art. I was just doing the advertising thing, and it was super helpful. I mean, I would sit in front of my computer, and I would just be like, just like zoned in and ready to do work, and not easily distracted, and it was great until I got to one of those nights where we had to work late. It was a crazy night, and by like 8:00, I start crashing, and I didn't have more of it. And even if I did, I wouldn't want to take another one because I would have been up till the next morning. And it ended up being like the longest, the worst night of it was such a horrible night of work. I couldn't think, I couldn't get anything done. All I wanted to do was go to sleep. And I was just like, I can't be dependent on this drug. So I put it down. I mean, I meditate and I do things that are supposed to help. I mean, they don't really help that much, but I'd rather deal with having ADD than being on medicine.
Yeah. Like being a little bit scattered is better than being on that medication, I feel like.
Yeah.
I heard this from another friend of mine. She is definitely ADD, but she's a force of nature and she gets stuff done. And, she tried, I think it was Adderall, and she just hated it. She's like, I just did not feel like myself. And I totally get that. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it's a slippery slope in some ways.
Yeah. I mean, now what I like to do is microdose, and that helps out quite a bit.
So talk a little bit about that, like how you microdose and what you do.
Yeah. I mean, I've got a little micro scale. I've got mushrooms, and I break off a little piece of mushrooms every day, and I do between probably 0.15 and 0.2 grams of mushrooms, which is a very small dose. It's not quite sub-perceptible. I think for it to technically be a microdose means you don't feel it at all. And I like to feel it just a little bit. I mean, basically it's I consider it the equivalent of a cup of coffee. I feel it when it's starting to kick in, but I'm not tripping by any means. I'm just kind of like, ooh, there it is. And then I go about my day, and the best thing it does for me is it takes me out of my head. All of the constant overthinking and worrying and anxiety and the sort of negative thoughts that permeate your daily thinking sometimes go away, and then you're just left with being in the moment, no matter what you're doing. I mean, you can imagine how that helps with art.
Yeah, absolutely. So it really kind of brings focus to your life when you do this microdosing. It helps you.
Yeah.
Do you suffer from anxiety?
Yeah. I've got anxiety. I'm not crippled by it, but I mean, I live in the modern world. I mean, who doesn't have anxiety these days? Yeah, it totally puts it at bay for the duration, and it's beyond the duration. Like it's almost like you have a hangover of like feeling good. Like there's no negative aspects for me, at least, for doing mushrooms. They make me feel good. Even after the mushrooms have worn off, I continue to feel good. And especially when I'm in my studio making art. Actually, when I go to my studio, I'll do a larger dose. I won't do a dose that's like a tripping dose, but I'll do a larger, versus it's a mini versus a micro dose. And then I really feel it. And then, I mean, to be in my studio in that state of mind is just like it's just like being in the zone, like you can actually like take this medicine and be in the zone every time you take it. Like every time I go to the studio, I just feel like I can do no wrong. I'm creative and I feel, I mean, it accentuates the way I already feel when I'm in the studio. Like when I go in the studio, I really feel like I'm my best self. Like I'm confident and I can, I don't second guess like any decision I make. I'm able to work through problems. I'm really like my best self when I'm making art, and mushrooms just accentuate that.
So it elevates you, and then you feel like you're kind of tapped in a little bit more to what you naturally have going on as far as that intuitiveness. But like you said, you don't have to second guess yourself on where you're going with something.
Yeah. I think what it does best is it makes your mind subservient to your heart. You don't overthink. Your mind is still there and it's still a tool that you can use, but you're leading with your heart, if that makes sense. And not to sound too hippy dippy up here in Boulder, but like that's really the essence of it.
Well, how did you get started in that? And did you have somebody that kind of helped you through it, or is it something that you just researched?
The mushrooms?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, the story behind that is, I got to Boulder. I hadn't, in college I had done psychedelics, but I did them in the way that, a college kid would do psychedelics. I would eat some mushrooms or do some acid, and I'd probably be drinking, or, who's self-aware at 19, so that was that. And then I graduated and I didn't even like give it a thought for another 20 years. And then I got to Boulder. And if you know anything about Boulder, you know that Boulder is sort of the epicenter of the use of psychedelics in therapeutic settings. I made some friends who were involved, who were therapists, who were, at the time they were going to Europa, and they were all very into using psychedelics in this way, and also using them recreationally as well. And I was just enthralled, and I was like, all right, well, let's see what this is all about. So me and a friend went camping, and we brought mushrooms and we ate mushrooms. And I just had an experience on that camping trip that was just, I was like, oh, okay, these things are a part of my life again. I was in the woods and I could literally feel the generosity and sacrifice of everything. I could feel the trees and I could feel the rocks, even the dead trees to me. In fact, the dead trees gave off a stronger, I don't know what you call it. That I could feel them more than I could feel anything else. I could feel their sacrifice. I could feel the joy in a living tree, and I could feel the sense that everything existing for everything else. And it was super profound. And, from that point on, I became very into psychedelics. I did do, and continue to do therapeutic work with a therapist, in a very controlled setting with both MDMA and mushrooms.
So how is the difference between the two experiences with MDMA and psilocybin?
Oh, boy. Wow, they're both such ineffable experiences. I mean, MDMA is known as a heart opener. And I've found personally that when I do MDMA in those settings, I tend to go to these very sort of infant places where I'm like reliving my infancy again. And I haven't had that experience on mushrooms. Mushrooms for me are, I mean, the best way I can think of to describe them is like they just show you the truth. And sometimes it hurts and it's really hard to experience. And sometimes it's super joyful. And I mean, like a lot of times people eat mushrooms and they get on have a giggle fest and they just like laugh their asses off for 3 hours. At least my perspective is that that's because life is joy and they're experiencing joy, and mushrooms share that with you.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
And I know I think it's psilocybin, the mushrooms, that they've had really good responses for people with, PTSD and alcoholism and those kind of things. So it's a really fascinating thing. And I haven't delved into it. I've never done any psychedelics, so I don't know the experience, but the more I hear about it, I definitely could use some mushrooms.
Yeah. I mean, I'm really convinced that psychedelics make humans better humans. When used responsibly and in the right setting, they connect you to things that are important to be connected to. I've also heard, in one of Michael Pollan's books, I don't know if he said it or if he was quoting someone as saying that, younger people aren't really ready for psychedelics yet. So you might be primed and ready, Wes, for your first psychedelic experience.
Well, I'm no kid, so I'm seriously, in the past couple years, Todd and I have talked about this since the early 2000s, and I'm seriously starting to think about having a therapeutic session with somebody, and I'm really interested in the peyote thing as well. So it's and I know that's a totally different thing.
Yeah, and I think the sort of clearing away any anxiety or sort of thoughts in your head is that's just like the first step, I guess. That's at its most rudimentary. That's what it does well. It's almost a cliche to say like psychedelics make better art, right? Because like we've all seen the psychedelic art, and people are sort of like, putting their visions to paper or whatever the medium may be. And it's not like that art doesn't have value, but it's not like I'm having visions and I'm like, oh, I want to make that. I want to make art out of this vision I just saw. It just opens me up as a human being in general. It's not like I'm going to take some acid and then go into my studio and paint what I see. Like, it's not that mechanical, or it's not an equation or a formula. I've just found that for me, since I've begun using psychedelics, they've changed me, and I'd like to think that they have for the better. And my work has just blossomed. Like, up until 3 years ago, I think it was probably 3 years ago, I really wasn't making art. I was doing dog portraits. You know what I mean? Like, I was just like a hired gun with a paintbrush. I wasn't inspired. I wasn't even comfortable with the title artist. Like, if someone said, "Oh, you're a great artist," I didn't feel like I was an artist. I was like a draftsman, just like painting a picture of a dog because, I don't know, I was good at doing it. So yeah, and so my art has really just begun, and it coincided with the use of psychedelics.
Just to kind of wrap my head around this, when you're talking about this, you're talking about psychedelics as a tool or as medicine, but really for you, a tool, it sounds like, to kind of tap into that place you like to go. And it makes you feel like you're connected. You're tapped into this connectivity that runs throughout the universe, because I believe that we're all connected in one way or another.
Yeah. I think it's a bunch of different like it's a tool, it's a medicine, it's a philosophy practically. It's so many things. I don't want to make it sound like I rely on this exclusively. Like I don't always do psychedelics in my studio, but more often than not, if I really want to get after it, if I've got a day set aside where I've got a lot of time, I will definitely use psychedelics for sure.
When you make that choice, it's just that feeling of like, today's the day. Like, I know what I want to get out of it. You've had enough of an experience with this to know what it will do for you. And you're making a conscious, there's intention there. It's not just like, hey, I have all these mushrooms. I'm just going to gobble a bunch of mushrooms and go paint, right?
No, exactly. I mean, and I am using small doses. Like I've never had to leave my studio because like, oh God, I ate too much for this or whatever. I got to go sit in the forest for a few hours. I'm always doing enough that I can control my experience.
And that again comes from knowing your body and how much to take and your experience, right? That all comes into play. I mean, it's serious stuff, right? When you're talking about using some kind of drug of some sort, it is something that you have to really think about because your mind is a fragile thing and you got to know what you're doing with it. Because it could, there's plenty of people it goes sideways on, but that's the difference between, somebody that's 18 or 19 years old experimenting and where you're at with this, where, you've done it under a controlled environment. You also know you have enough experience that you know how you use it and what you use it for.
Yeah, exactly. You can abuse anything. If you drink 8 cups of coffee in the morning, you're going to feel it. You're not going to have a good time. I make the coffee reference a lot because I feel like that, it's a good one because caffeine is the most commonly ingested psychoactive substance on the planet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In people, I mean, there's probably people that'll listen to this podcast and go, oh my God, mushrooms, whatever. Obviously it's becoming more mainstream, which is fantastic. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, people have been using some form of drug since the beginning of time. And, I think caffeine is a great example. I mean, tons of people drink tea and coffee, or they drink Red Bulls or some kind of energy drink. Alcohol is probably one of the most abused drugs out there. And people don't even think of it as a drug. It's so commonly accepted in our society that people don't even think about it. Like, there's alcohol and then there's drugs, right?
If our laws were logical, alcohol would have been banned a long time. I mean, if we were getting rid of the drugs that or making illegal the drugs that do the most damage, I mean, it would be alcohol. I mean, it seems to be making more and more sense that making anything illegal is just not good for anybody. Yeah, but alcohol would probably be, I mean, alcohol's got to be the top of the list for just like damaging the most people.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is why we had prohibition at one point.
Yeah.
And it didn't work, right?
Yeah.
It didn't take.
Yeah. Making anything illegal just, creates all kinds of inequality and all that stuff. And, it just doesn't serve anybody anything. Right.
Yeah.
And the guy that started, and I don't know his name off the top of my head, but started AA, Alcoholics Anonymous. He started that. He quit drinking after doing acid.
Yeah, I from what I understand about AA is that they frown on the use of psychedelics to help with problems of alcohol addiction. Just because it's kind of like a zero tolerance for like any kind of drug.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm no expert on any of that. So, I hope that some listener doesn't write in to correct me on that. But that's my understanding.
Yeah.
Is that the founder, I thought, was actually against using any kind of psychedelics too.
Yeah, but I think what happened is he did it wasn't an experiment thing. I think he went into treatment and they used something like acid. That was during the time where they were really experimenting with acid, and he actually took some, and I thought it was psilocybin, but it might have been acid, LSD. But and I think Todd's probably right. Then he kind of went through developed this whole 12-stage thing, but I think now they kind of look at it like that is what cured him of alcoholism, because they've had such strong cases of the same thing recently, because they're allowed to experiment with this stuff again, or they're starting to be able to. Mm-hmm. And so yeah, they're saying like one treatment with whatever the drug is, LSD or psilocybin, and you can be completely off alcohol, which is, I think, is amazing. If that's, if that shows continually looks to be proven.
I mean, I imagine that has happened, but I wouldn't want anyone to think that, oh man, I could just do one mushroom trip and rid myself of this, this alcoholism or whatever it is.
Yeah, disease or whatever. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, they say that, with one, you could do one psilocybin journey and have it, and basically accomplish 10 years of therapy in one session. And I've experienced that. I've had some come to Jesus moments in those settings where I'm just like, I got to change in my fucking life. Amazingly powerful stuff.
Yeah.
MDMA seems to, from what I understand, it seems to be the best tool for like acute trauma. Soldiers coming back from battle and, suffering PTSD and, people suffering from horrific abuses and rapes and whatever, seem to get the best results from that medicine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Well, thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Todd.
Well, I was just going to say, and I think you hit it right on the head there, Steve, is that, it should be looked upon as medicine. And like you touched on earlier, Wes, that it's just recently that the government has allowed people to start doing scientific studies on these different things, whether it's cannabis or psilocybin or MDMA. They're finally delving into it. And because of, the war on drugs, it really set us back probably, a good 50, 60 years or more. And people, really exploring what these medicines could do. People want to call them drugs, but I think truly, it can be used as a medicine, and it really does help a lot of people. And, like I said, people have been using stuff from the very beginning, and there's tons of people that have used drugs to be creative. There's a great Netflix movie called Grass is Greener. And it's really deep dives into the whole prohibition of cannabis and how it was cannabis prohibition and criminalizing it is really based on, racism. A bunch of white people didn't want this drug around because, black and brown people were, had been using it forever, and they didn't want people using it. But all the great jazz musicians, they all smoked weed. Carl Sagan, the great scientist, astronomer, he was a huge proponent of cannabis. Trying to think of somebody else that you wouldn't think of that uses cannabis. Rick Steves, the guy that does the PBS travel series.
Really?
full on burner, man. Like, he's a upstanding member of his, community. He's a churchgoer, but he likes using cannabis. So, I mean, it's being used by a multitude of people, and maybe you don't even think about it or think that they would use it. But I mean, people that you respect and they're doing something significant in the world and adding to our world. So, I think we need to get rid of that stigma.
I think the stigma of psychedelics is going away fast. I mean, Gwyneth Paltrow had a thing on her Goop show. People doing journey work there. I mean, if she's embracing it, then that the mainstream world is beginning to get a peek into this and what it can do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the government's been involved from like the get-go with all this stuff anyway. There's a great book written by Jay Stevens. It's called Storming Heaven, The History of LSD in America. I think that's the title. But anyway, I mean, the CIA and at the advent of LSD, they were experimenting. Those guys were like gobbling acid and then leading each other on high-speed chases through the cities. I mean, crazy stuff. And, movie stars like Cary Grant and famous writers like Aldous Huxley, they were all into expanding their minds with experimentation with, LSD and psilocybin. So it's been around forever. It's just been underground, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the government has reason to worry because psychedelics wake people up.
That's it.
People aren't the sheep that government wants them to be when they're using psychedelics. Like you see truth, like truth becomes evident to you on these substances. And
they control with fear, right? And one of those things that, kind of goes by the wayside when you're on psychedelics a lot of times is that fear. I mean, you can have fear of things, but you also feel connected. And like a good friend of mine said one time, he's like, if everybody was to take some kind of psychedelic, there probably wouldn't be war in the world.
You know what? It's just like a fun thought experiment. I always say, what if we could force feed 50 of the most influential people in the world psychedelics. I mean, maybe the idea of force feeding psychedelics is probably a bad idea to begin with, but like if we could, in this perfect world, give people like Trump and like, Al Qaeda and Putin and all these like people doing horrible things on this planet. I mean, that's a very biased thing to say, I guess, about Trump, but people who have a lot of influence, if they could all take psychedelics and like have some experience, like what would happen? Would the world change? Probably not overnight, probably not drastically, but I would like to think that something would happen for the better in a significant way if that were to happen.
It might move the needle just enough.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, just enough for that catalyst to happen for us to like move in a different direction, right?
Yeah, exactly. There was a book called, what was it called? This really dense book about this medicine called Kukeon. I don't know if I'm even pronouncing that right. It was like Kukeon, and it was a psychedelic medicine served in Greece. And thousands of people would migrate every year to drink this medicine. And it was said to be like the one thing holding like civilization together. And this medicine was like the precursor to Christianity. In fact, all record of it has been wiped away. And this book, this very, very well-researched book, told the story of this medicine that like basically all of the ancient world relied on as a medicine. And yeah, I feel like maybe we're heading back there now, finally.
Yeah.
Be a nice thought.
Absolutely. And just for, we're having this discussion, but just like you wouldn't say, hey, I think you should, you seem kind of edgy, you should have a drink or you should drink. Same thing with psychedelics. It's a personal choice, You can't really you can advocate. I'm an advocate of legalization or decriminalization of these things. But at the same time, I believe that it's a personal choice. I'm not saying everybody should be on psychedelics, but I think it's a medicine and it's a responsibility. And it really is a personal choice, just because we're talking about it and obviously it helps people doesn't mean that people should go out and do it. But if it seems like something that you would want to explore, I think
by all means,
you should have access to it and not be persecuted, or prosecuted.
There are counterindications. I mean, if you've got schizophrenia, apparently psychedelics are a no-no.
Yeah.
But most people who don't deal with those kinds of specific ailments can go ahead and try some. Again, be respectful, of this medicine. It's powerful stuff. And be mindful of where you're doing it. A Slayer concert is probably not the best place to try mushrooms for the first time. And doing a massive dose for your first time is probably not a good idea. Baby steps. Especially if you're going to eat mushrooms, go to the forest. Go be in nature. Those two go along like peas and carrots.
Yeah, there has to be some thought and some intention when you're talking about the use of these things.
Yeah, intention is everything. Like the difference between doing Molly at an EDM concert and doing MDMA with your therapist in a very controlled environment is, the intention there makes all the difference.
Yeah, for sure.
Or going to your studio to make art,
which seems like a perfect place.
It is for me.
Anyway, thank you for sharing that. Like Wes said, I appreciate your insight to psychedelics and how it's been able to help you and how you utilize it. Have you found the Colorado art community to be pretty welcoming? Has it been pretty easy to, get tapped into the various communities? Because you're in a lot of different places, man. You're up in Boulder, but you definitely have a connection to a lot of different things going on here in Denver as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's an effort constantly. Like getting out and going to galleries and, going to openings and meeting people and networking. It's just like trying to find a new job. You've got to get out there and you've got to meet people to make things happen. Has it been welcoming? I guess it's the art world in that it's not unwelcoming, but it's hard to break down the door. It's hard to get into galleries, and it's hard to get the work accepted, I guess, like where I want it to be accepted.
Right.
There are galleries in Denver. I mean, a lot of them are collectives that focus more on collecting membership dues than they are on selling work, it seems like to me. And it's, they're called vanity galleries. I mean, Valkyries is a collective, but I'm really excited to be at that gallery because they curate the work. There's good work at Valkyrie.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, yeah. I think you're right on the money. Valkyrie is a gem here in Lakewood. And, it's kind of like the lone wolf where it's at and stuff, because it's not in the arts district at all, but hands down, everybody that's involved with that collective that is a member there, they're all phenomenal artists as far as I'm concerned. And I've never walked into Valkyrie and walked around and just gone, I always see something good. The shows are always good at Valkyrie. So yeah, I think I think Valkyrie's a great place, and I think you're pretty fortunate to be in that group of people. Obviously, your work, justifies and warrants being part of that group. It's just superb. But yeah, hands down, like quality wise across the board, I think you hit the nail on the head there.
Yeah, I feel like Denver's still a young and growing city. There's still so much room and for the art community and the art scene here to grow. It's not New York yet. It's not Chicago or LA. But I think it's got potential. I mean, the people that are flocking here, this place is ripe for that kind of like blossoming of its artist community. I mean, the street art here is unbelievable. It's like, it's got to be world renowned, right? Like the big Crush Walls thing that they do every year here.
Yeah. Yeah. It seems like they're just a bunch of phenomenal street artists here, but also it brings in, like you said, people from all over the place that flock here for that. These different festivals and stuff. I'm excited to see more and better galleries and better curation become part of the art scene here. Yeah, I know that this is what you're doing now is relatively new, like you said.
Mhm.
But, you obviously have been and keep your finger on the pulse of what's going on, like in New York and LA.
Mhm.
How would you compare or contrast like the New York scene with Colorado?
Hmm. Well, I can't speak to the New York scene because when I was there, I wasn't involved in it. I mean, I'm more acquainted with the LA scene. I went out there last year for the month of March just to immerse myself in the art scene there. I feel like LA is just absolutely just like bristling with creativity. I mean, everywhere you look, there's art happening, and there's galleries big and small, and and everything in between, and there's something for everybody out there. I mean, people go to LA to be creative. People go there to chase their dreams, and you can feel that in LA. Yeah, I just think that the LA scene is the one that I take to the most. I feel like my work would do great in LA. It's bright, it's colorful, there's some sexy to it. And that's why I went out there to see if I couldn't like make a connection, network, do all the things. I went down to Miami for Basel in December just to check that out as well. The Miami scene seems to be more of a street art scene as well from the limited time I was there. I mean, I was down there just enough to get to all the shows and then like a day or two just to run around and see what else I could see. Have you guys ever been to Basel?
No, that's something that's on our agenda. And
Oh my God, you've got to get down there. It's so amazing. Yeah.
so were you considering like maybe relocating to LA and Miami, or just really kind of wanted to see what was going on?
I was considering it, I was floating it, but like it's another big city. I'm kind of enamored with the Colorado life, and I'm not ready to give it up anytime soon. So I was toying with the idea, but was very happy to return home.
And I could see how like you feel like the LA scene would be a bit more your style, because of the vibrant colors that you use, and it just seems more California like than say New York. It seems a little more sunnier and happier.
Yeah, it feels more California from my perspective. It doesn't feel very Colorado. It's not aspen trees or buffalo or the sort of art that you associate with the West. Yeah. I mean, it's usually. I mean, for listeners who haven't figured it out yet, it's figurative, but it's usually women, and they're usually in the air. When I do photo shoots for reference photos, I set up a trampoline and I have my models bounce on the trampoline, and that's where I get the reference shots for a lot of the paintings I do.
Oh, it's really interesting, man.
Yeah, I didn't know that. That's interesting. Yeah. How do you find the models? Do you just put an ad out, or is there just?
I follow some models on Instagram. Sometimes they've been friends. Sometimes I'll just approach someone that I think would be great at it. Yeah, it's all the above.
Yeah.
They've really got to be willing to get after it. I mean, it's not the average modeling gig. They're working hard, like really, like it's really physically demanding work.
And then do you pay them like scale, or because some of them are professional models, do they have prices that you guys negotiate, or how's that work?
It's usually an hourly rate, $50 an hour, $100 an hour. I mean, $100 is pretty steep, but I've paid that. When I can, I get them to do it for free. I get friends to do it for free. Yeah, and the women that I've asked to do it, they love the experience. There's something. A good friend of mine was a model for me, and well, I'll tell you a funny story. I don't know if it's going to be. I mean, I guess it'll be safe. So one of the photo shoots I had, I approached two of my friends, another a male friend and a female friend, and I was like, "Here's what we're going to do. We're going to eat MDMA, and we're going to take off all our clothes, and we're going to dance around, and I'm going to set up a camera, and we're going to snap pictures of it all." And they agreed to it, and that's how I made about 3 or 4 paintings out of that session. So there's an example to bring the psychedelics back into, applications to art of a way I did that. And the woman in that group who was part of that with me was just like, this is like a healing experience. Like she felt the value of what I was doing. She didn't grasp it intellectually. She felt what was going on in that room. And that was really special to me.
Spelling it out and just saying, this is what we're going to do, and have it just be kind of this experimental thing.
Yeah.
I'm going to guess that she probably went in with, some preconceived ideas like most people would, right? But it became something else in the process of doing it, right?
Absolutely. I think there was definitely a moment of awkwardness there, at the very first, when we first take off all our clothes, but in minutes it was just as if our clothes were on. There was no discomfort, no awkwardness. I mean, at least from my perspective. And I mean, she'd remarked the same thing, throughout the day about how easily we were able to just be naked with each other. And it was a beautiful experience.
That's really interesting. I don't know if I could do that or not, man.
Sure you can.
Could you do that, Wes?
I don't know. I don't know if I'm comfortable enough in my own skin to do that. But
that takes a lot of trust, man. So kudos for you for providing a safe environment. And obviously you picked people that you thought, it would resonate with and you felt comfortable with, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's super important to me, especially if I'm going to do something sort of, risque like that, to set up a container that's going to be safe for everyone. I mean, even with my models, I make sure to always have a female assistant with me, just so they feel safe, just so there's no chance of any impropriety whatsoever. I think that's important. I mean, one of my models, I mean, I don't know if you guys took a look at some of my work. There was a series of work there where there was a lot of gritty, grabby. There was a female model with a man's hands on her.
Yeah, I'm going to pull up that image right now because that's one of the pieces that I wanted to talk about today. There's multiple ones, but we'll just pick this one here. Pull it up on my screen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So again, to bring it back to psychedelics, so this whole series was inspired by a conversation I had with a woman while we were on MDMA. She was a friend of mine, and she was a woman who struggled a lot with her weight, and she was just opened up to me about what that struggle meant to her and sort of the shame around it and pain, both emotionally and physically. And, and in that moment, I felt like I was really holding her in this space where she could just unload all this and feel safe with me. And that was the inspiration for this series. So I hired a friend of mine, and I was basically like, do you want to come model for me and basically understand that I'm going to be grabbing you all over your body for the duration of the photo shoot? And she was like, let's do it. So I was like, you're the model for me. So, but again, I had a female model, a female assistant with me for the shoot. I mean, I think it's crucial to have that kind of setup.
So that's you, and that's you holding her?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. The first one we looked at was called Held. And then the one we're looking at now is called Come and Get It.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's just named for I was inspired by her pose. She just looks like she's the epitome of confidence and attitude. So that's where that came from.
I love this piece, Come and Get It. I love the emotion and everything that's going on with it, man. What I love about your piece is they all look different from each other. And that always excites me when I'm looking at an artist's work.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm not seeing the same thing over and over again, even if it's like a series, it's different. And all your pieces are so dynamic. You feel them when you look at them.
Yeah. I mean, I'm shooting for that. I mean, there are enough paintings in the world of women lying in repose I want to create images of women in very powerful images of women. And I don't even necessarily know why I want to do that, but that's what I want to do.
And I think you capture that here. She seems very in control in a sense. I love that, you don't see your face. I think I like that because I think that will allow people, especially women that have those same self-esteem issues, they can look at themselves, put themselves in that position and see the beauty of it. I
hope that that's the case. But this series has also triggered a lot of women.
I was going to ask you about that, how this series has been received by people.
Yeah, I mean, I love when women see what you just said, but people bring their own stuff to the work that they look at. I mean, for instance, I posted one of these on Facebook, and someone had responded to me. There's another image where I'm grabbing, the very fleshy part of a woman's belly.
That's called Judgment Day.
Judgment Day. And a woman commented that, is this out of anger because you don't want this woman to look the way you want her to? It was really negative. And, obviously that's not the message that I want to put out into the world. Like, I want this to be about embracing what is and compassion and acceptance. Like, that's what I wanted this series to be about, not judgment of any woman's body.
Right.
Yeah,
I could see, I guess, thinking about that, I could see where, if they're even uncomfortable in their own body, could get a triggered reaction to it. And that's unfortunate because when I look at it, I don't see that, but I'm also a man. Right. So
well, that's exactly it. I'm a man too. And, it's, and I've heard it a bunch. Like, I mean, at the very least, people look at it and they go, oh, it makes me feel self-conscious about my own belly fat, and like, I've heard that quite a bit.
This is where we've done a huge disservice in our society to people, and especially females. I feel like it's not so prevalent in other countries, like in Europe and that sort of thing. They have generally a better acceptance of the way the human body is, especially female bodies, In America, it's very much about having this perfect body. I think that's changing, but I think there's a lot of people that are in this world that are very dissatisfied with their looks and how they think that they're perceived, right? And the bottom line is that if your body is healthy, you should be happy. And I mean, outside of doing some kind of modification, some plastic surgery or whatever, there's not much you can do about it. So it's about that acceptance of your body, right?
Yeah. In this particular instance, that's what I'm going for. I mean, it was really to capture the essence of that conversation with that woman. I'm not trying to make political statements here, and I'm not trying to, this isn't like a reflection of our society and the human body and how, women are seen or treated in society. It really came from that specific conversation. In fact, all of my work, like, I'm not trying to make some political statement. I'm not trying to somehow right a wrong or to, have some insightful commentary about society. Like, I paint what I paint, and I don't know why I don't necessarily know why I paint what I paint. Like, I'm drawn to skin, and I'm drawn to energetic poses, and I'm drawn to the female form. But to try to explain exactly why that is probably better left to my therapist. Maybe you should ask her. I make art for me. Like, I want people to buy my art, and I want people to, appreciate it and like it and whatever. But at the end of the day, the most important reason why I make art is because it's my therapy. And for a long time, I tried to I was like, well, what am I saying here? Like, what am I doing with this art? Like, I felt like I needed to have some sort of rationale for why I did what I did, and some sort of like long-winded, you read these artist statements that you're just like, oh my God, what is where'd that come from? And I wanted to have that, you know, some sort of like deeper meaning to my art. But the fact is I don't really have that. And that's okay.
Absolutely. That's totally legit in my book, you know,
Yeah.
but you
Yeah.
just do it yourself, and that, you know, it doesn't have to have a specific reason other than the fact that you love to create and you do this for you.
Yeah. The meaning of my art is in the making. You know, like everything that happens after the fact almost doesn't matter. I mean, in the instance of this series, for instance, like it was a moment in time captured. Like that's what this was about. It's you know, just I was inspired by a conversation. You know, why am I inspired by women in energetic poses? Like, I don't really know. And I don't really have to explain myself either. You know, that's something that I'm coming to realize as an artist.
How was her response after the shoot? Was it very cathartic for her, or?
She loved it. She loved all these paintings. Yeah, she was thrilled to have been my model, and I was thrilled to have her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's great. No, these are powerful pieces. And the cool thing is, you know, when I see, and I love nudes like everybody else, I love looking at the female form and the male form for that matter. I mean, there's beautiful male figurative pieces.
Sure.
And these are just wonderful. And I love these.
Yeah, I did one male figure once. It's on the site, I think. And I did it, and I was just like, it just didn't do anything for me. I was like, okay, I got that over with, just exploring. But it was actually a self-portrait. That's me. This was done during that session I told you about with me and the three friends.
It's a great piece, man.
Yeah.
Again, you sense it's dynamic, and you kind of have the sense of joy, you know, of freedom, of letting yourself go. That definitely comes through in this particular piece.
If anything, that's what I want people to see. I want people to see joy. I want, because that's what defines everything that goes into making my art. And I want people to feel that.
I love how you describe these things as conversations. I don't know that we've ever had, you know, that direct relation as far as that kind of description, but I love how you describe these as conversations with your model or your subject or what have you.
Mm-hmm.
On your website, you talk about, and I'm not going to read it, so I'll just try to get the gist of it. These are all nudes, and you're removing all the man-made elements out of your paintings and including the sense of gravity.
So when I was thinking about before I landed on the trampoline, you know, I was thinking about painting the female form, and like any vertical uprightness, whether a woman's standing or laying down, like there's a sense of above and below. And I wanted to eliminate that. You know, I wanted there to be no way to even know sort of which way was up, basically. I don't know, the idea of gravity bored me. I don't know. It was that was the impetus for the trampoline. I was like, well, how do I get rid of gravity?
Mm-hmm.
Capture them at that apex of that jump where their hair is just wild. I mean, even when you look at hair, right? Like hair is pulled down by gravity. So you know that there's a sense of gravity in the picture. And I wanted to eliminate that.
I love the thought behind that.
Yeah. And I don't know of anybody else who's doing that. It's such an original idea. And I love the sense of the freedom of it all. You know, they're floating, they're, you know, falling, they're flying. It just has a sense of freedom. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
This piece, Girl Erupted, I just absolutely adore, man. It's a flippin' phenomenal piece. And again, what you're doing is so unique compared to what other nude, whether it's painting, photography, or whatever, you're plotting your own path. And I love where you're going with this. Do you feel like you found your voice? Or are you still searching that out, do you think?
Well, I think my visual voice is something that's always going to evolve and change, but I think I'm onto something for sure. I think that first series of those sort of gritty, grabby shots, like that was that was my first time I was ever like, oh, I'm inspired to paint something. Like that was the moment, the pivot point where my art career began. So that was a stepping stone. And, you know, I quickly realized that I didn't want to be doing that type of gritty stuff for the rest of my art career, I guess. It had its moment, and then I moved on. But now I do feel like I have a voice, yeah. And who knows how that'll change. You know, but right now I'm happy with the work I do. And I'm always wondering too, like, well, what am I going to do next? Am I going to be painting women for the rest of my life? Are they going to be in the air for the rest of my life? Are they going to be naked for the rest of my life? Like I don't know. And there's always that sense of like, well, what's happening with this? You know, what am I going to do with this blank canvas now? You know, but I'm happy with the work I'm doing. And then there's always parts of the work I'm doing that I'm like not happy about. Like, oh, I got to make this better, or I got to make this whatever. Like there's always a hunger there to do something different. Like every time I step up to a painting, I'm like, all right, well, what am I going to do different this time? If I'm just recreating or not trying something new every time I do a painting, then I feel like that feels like a failure to me.
Yeah, you got to be pushing yourself, right?
Yeah. And even, I mean, it doesn't have to be some drastically different thing, but that's a question I ask myself with every painting. Like, what am I going to do different here? And also, I'm still new at this. Like, my work's going to evolve.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And like you said, your voice will evolve too. But you know, when I look at your stuff, I feel like you've kind of hit on this thing. And even if it evolves into something else, I'll still be able to look at one of your pieces, I think, in the future, whatever that may be, and go, that's one of Steve's pieces. Like, it looks like a Steve piece, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny that you said, like, well, it's funny that we're talking about, like, finding my voice with this art, but not really knowing what it's saying at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, other than expressing joy.
And you definitely get emotion out of your pieces. Like I said earlier, it's you feel that. You feel it. It's honest work, man. And that's how I know that it's good. And that's how, when, you know, we were introduced the other week and you showed me that piece in Valkyrie, I was like, that's pretty damn phenomenal, man. Like, I felt it. Like, you know, wasn't like, you know, it was serendipitous that we happened to be in the gallery at the same time at the same show, and you happen to be in that gallery, but it definitely was like, oh my God, like, this guy's really good. Like, he's really doing something unique and different, and he does it really well. That was my takeaway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that means a lot coming from you guys who have interviewed so many other great artists.
Tenet wants to acknowledge our media sponsor, New Magazine. That's NUE. You can follow both the national and the Denver edition of New Magazine on Instagram. The national edition can be found at new_magazine, and the Denver edition at new_Denver_magazine. And I want to share with you something very exciting. Check out the newly launched New Denver Gallery Guide. Look for the signage that says New Denver Gallery Guide that has a QR code. Scan it with your phone, and you have instant access to a comprehensive digital guide to Denver's finest galleries and exhibitions. Find this QR code in your favorite gallery, hotel, or coffee shop as you visit and explore Denver. Thanks for listening.
I'm Steve Morrell, and you're listening to the Tenet Podcast.
If I understand the research that I did outside of your graphic design education, you didn't go to art school. You're pretty much self-taught. Is that right?
Yeah. I studied graphic design in college, and took a few classes here and there since. I took a class with a guy named Marvin Madelson at SVA that was pretty instructional. There was another guy, I don't remember his name, at the New York Art Students League. But other than that, self-taught.
Wow.
Were you painting as a kid? I mean, have you been doing this for a while, even though you haven't really been?
Yeah. I mean, I've been at it. I mean, I've been drawing and making art for as long as I can recall. I mean, my mother recognized that I seemed to have some talent when I was a kid. So like anything I wanted regarding art, she was there. If I wanted an airbrush, or I wanted paint, or I wanted an art table, she supported that. So yeah, actually, funny story. I started painting, I was like 12 years old, and so I'm dating myself. So this is the 80s, and you guys are probably my age, so you probably recall in the 80s, it was popular to get your denim jacket painted, like the big back panel of your denim jacket to get painted with your favorite band's album cover. So like Metallica, Iron Maiden, and all these groups with these cool album covers, they were getting painted on the backs of jackets. And a friend of mine got his jacket painted, and it was a Kiss jacket. Remember Kiss?
Yeah.
And the album cover was animalized. Anyway, the painting was terrible. It was just like poorly done. And I was like, you know what? I've never touched a paintbrush in my life, but I guarantee you I can do better than that. Sure enough, we went out and we got some paint, and we couldn't even afford paintbrushes. I literally cut off a piece of his hair and I taped it, and I used that as a paintbrush, and I painted this kid's jacket, and it came out really good. So then his brother asked me to do his jacket, and I did Ride the Lightning next, the Metallica's Ride the Lightning. And then it just snowballed, and I became like the guy in Yonkers that you went to get your jacket painted. Like if you wanted your jacket done well, it was me and this and one other kid, Pragon. And we were both like the masters. And I was so young that people didn't believe me when they dropped off the jacket that I was the one doing the jackets. And it was kind of funny. But yeah, so, I did that. And it's so funny too, because I had like zero concept of business and like what my time was worth. Like I would do a jacket, and it would take me like 2 weeks to do a jacket, and I charged like $50. I just had no concept. So then I was like, all right, well, I seem to be good at this. And in high school, I was in an art class, and it was like my favorite time in high school was like in that art class when I got to paint. But when it was time to go to college, I was like, I don't want to be poor. And I don't want to be a starving artist. So doing a fine art degree wasn't practical enough for me. So then I put it down for years. I didn't paint for years, and then started again in my 30s doing the dog portraits. But again, I wasn't necessarily, it was just like, well, I can do this. It's sort of fun, and I can make a little bit of money at it, and that's what I did.
You have this horse picture of this white horse painting that you've done. That thing is stellar. I grew up around horses, and it's a beautiful piece. Beautiful piece.
Thank you. Yeah, and I still do dog portraits and horse portraits, but it's not what gets me going. Like I can bang one of those out, and I enjoy it. I enjoy doing them.
That piece right there is incredible.
It is.
Yeah.
This is the amazing thing, Steve, to me. Light so well. Like that's the first thing I pick up on as a photographer, whether I'm looking at photography or some other medium, but especially painting. I really pay attention in painting because I just think it's so difficult. Like I try to put myself in that position of that artist that has painted that picture. And I think, holy crap, how hard that must be to get the gradation of light and the tones and make it look realistic. That to me is amazing. And you do it so flippin' well.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, it's funny. Painting realistically just comes naturally to me. In fact, my challenge as an artist is to back away from the realism and know when to stop rendering. Like what I'm really trying to do now with the paintings of women that I do is paint just enough that you know what you're looking at, but not. I don't try to render the shit out of everything till it's photographic. And I hear lots of artists tell me that too. They're like, it's like knowing when to. It's knowing when to. It's like the difference of like rendering something and being an artist. Like with every like stroke that I take, I'm like, all right, like I got to think about where it's going. And I have to be like, all right, be artistic with this stroke. Like, don't just try to copy what you're seeing, but be artistic with the stroke. And sometimes I forget that and I end up like rendering the shit out of things. And then I'll go back and like add a flourish or add a stroke that to me feels more artistic, that feels like it's got personality or something other than just like duplicating an image.
Yeah. So I got two screens here. I'm looking at what Todd's sharing. It's the horse, and pretty photorealistic.
Yeah.
Really tight. And then on my screen, I have a painting of yours called Wonder Womb and it has spray paint, acrylic, oil, and all that on the same painting. A lot looser, more abstract. Obviously the background is completely abstract. It's just amazing. And I can see, like, if you're so used to painting tight and rendering everything, to loosen up would be difficult.
Yeah. I mean, I look at this one now and I love this painting. But it's not where I want to be in terms of level of rendering. Like I want to loosen up here.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm starting to do it. Like you can see in the arm, like there's like palette knife, marks that move away from sort of rendering smooth gradations from light to dark and stuff like that. Like I'm getting rougher and I'm getting choppier here. But this is really just the beginning of it.
Yeah. But I mean, it's completely different. And I totally see the struggle. Like if you're so used to that, I can see where doing this is a progression of like trying to get where you're at. But this piece is really, I love this piece too. The one thing I wanted to ask about specifically about this one is, so you're doing acrylic, you're doing oil, and then you're adding spray paint. So what went through your head to go, I'm going to throw spray paint in, or was that early in the conception of the piece?
It was early in the conception of the piece. I knew I wanted to use spray paint. I'm not good with a spray can. I mean, I still want to use more spray paint somewhere, somehow. I just knew I wanted to try spray paint. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to feel, I just wanted to pop off the canvas. I wanted to feel glowy. I wanted to feel street arty almost. Mm-hmm. Because I'm inspired by street art. I think the work that people are doing with spray cans just blows my mind. So yeah, that was all. I just wanted to incorporate a new medium and see how it went. I spray painted the glow behind her before I did anything else. Yeah.
I love this piece. So cool.
Thank you.
And this is the one that's over at Memento Mori gallery right now for that group show, right?
Correct.
What fascinates you about street art? Do you just like the rawness of it, or what is it?
Oh, just the creativity of it just blows my mind. The fact that they can paint so realistically on such a large scale blows my mind. The level of control they have with the paint blows my mind. I mean, every element of it is just fascinating to me. I haven't dove into it yet, but I would love at some point to get my hands on some spray cans and do something outside, but I haven't gotten there yet.
This is a pretty big piece, 60 by 42 inches. Do you typically work pretty large?
Yeah. I like the bigger, the better. The only limit is my Subaru Outback. If I can't get it into my car, then it's too big to paint.
So now you need a Sprinter van.
Exactly. Yeah, I need to. I'm due for a new vehicle, and I'm thinking at least a truck.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with Wes, and this is on your business card that you handed me the other day, and I was like, I've seen this before. Like, where have I seen this? And it was because I'd seen the gallery post this on Instagram. But it's a fantastic piece.
Yeah, I mean it's almost kind of tricky to find spaces for this work because it is nude, and it's not the kind of thing that can hang anywhere.
I was going to ask you that. Like, is it a hard sell? I mean, I know that. I mean, on your website, and then you have some stuff on Instagram where you obviously have some people that collect you or have bought in pieces, and but but you're selling stuff. So obviously people appreciate it and understand where you're coming from, right?
Yeah, people appreciate it. But in terms of like hanging it in public, because I'll still take anything I can get. And coffee shops in Boulder, are just, it's just a naked woman is just not accepted as, work that you can hang in a coffee shop or in other public spaces.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense.
Like no one's buying this piece to put it in the lobby of a corporate building,
Right. Right.
Yeah.
So sussing out who your audience is has got to be like really difficult, right? Like,
yeah. I'm still figuring that out.
Like the gallery down on Santa Fe, and remind me the name of that gallery that closed.
Tunisia.
Yeah, that was a fantastic gallery, but
it was a great gallery, and it's a shame they closed because they were one of the few galleries down there that wasn't a co-op or a collective. I was, I really respected Jeff and the work he was doing down there. And actually had really good luck there. One of the first big pieces I ever sold at that gallery on opening night.
Wow.
Yeah, Preparing for Takeoff. The one where she's crouched down on that wood. Yeah, some guy came in and was just looking at it. He was just like, man, and he just couldn't stop staring at it. And then he left, and then I left, and then me and a bunch of friends went out to dinner after the show, and I got a text from Jeff, the gallery owner. He was like, your piece just sold. It was like literally one of the best nights of my life.
Yeah, did you get up and scream?
Yeah, I mean, I had like 15 of my close friends out at dinner, and I was just like, you guys, guess what? I just sold this painting. And it was just like everybody erupted. It was a good night. This is painted on walnut burl veneer.
And that piece over at Valkyrie that's hanging right now in the members part of the gallery, that also is on that veneer as well, right?
Yeah. I just discovered this gorgeous, the grain of this wood, like the waviness is just absolutely spectacular. This is an experience I had on psychedelics, by the way. So this is ketamine. So we haven't talked about ketamine yet. So ketamine is another psychedelic medicine that is changing people's lives. And I was in a therapeutic setting with ketamine, and I just got this random spontaneous inspiration to paint on wood. And that's where this and all of those paintings that were painted on wood came from.
Did you just have this sitting around the studio, or was this something that you were like, all of a sudden you had this idea and then you went and hunted this down, this veneer?
Oh, well, once I was inspired by that experience, I went into a rabbit hole searching for veneers forever. The patterns that just naturally occur in these wood veneers are practically works of art in themselves. I mean, like, look at those swirls and stuff. It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
So yeah, I did a bunch of paintings on that. I feel like, I mean, another thing I have to think about too, because at the end of the day, I do want to sell my work, is what's viable for sale. And one of the things that an artist told me once is like painting faces. Painting faces in your art makes it hard to sell. Because once people see a face, they're like, well, I don't know who that person is. They're buying a painting of a stranger. That doesn't mean that I'm not going to paint a face, but like that might have been how I developed this sort of look where like the hair is always covering the face.
Yeah. And I asked Adrienne Stein that when we were talking to her, and she does amazing nudes. And she said, she says they sell. Because I was asking, do nudes actually sell? Like, is that something that's hard to sell? Because when I look at a nude, and I'm with you, when I see, or with your friend, when I see a face, I love it, but I don't know if I'd want to hang it in my house. Mm-hmm. Where this, because, once again, the anonymity of it all, I would hang this in my house with no problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting.
And we've talked to a number of artists that do along the lines as far as the whole anonymity thing. They seem like they're able to sell their work, even though it's figurative work or portrait-esque, because they're not showing faces, because then you can put yourself in that scenario, or, like you said, it's not, I don't know that person type of scenario. This piece right here, though, preparing for takeoff, it's so intense. Like I can definitely see why this sold. It's phenomenal, man. And I love the whole, you said it's walnut veneer that you're using, right?
Yeah, it's walnut burl veneer composite.
Yeah, it's so complementary to your style. Like I can see why you'd gravitate to it,
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these paintings, just by nature of the color of the wood, end up dark. And that's something I think I'm moving away from now is sort of the darkness of these paintings. I still like to use the walnut burl just for the sake of painting something random every once in a while. Because like sometimes I get a wild hair and I like don't paint a woman. Like I did a painting of a water gun. That just felt fun and poppy to me. I just, like I said, like I get these random thoughts once in a while. I've got a painting in a work in progress right now. It's an aspen tree on fire. It's sort of my little quiet rebellion against all the aspen tree paintings in Colorado.
I love that. I love this piece, by the way.
Yeah, we were talking about this before you came on, Steve.
Yeah.
Just real quick, and Wes is like, I really like that. He's got this painting of this water gun. I really like that. It's cool. It's really cool.
I think what it is, you're seeing these nudes and the animals, and all of a sudden there's the water gun. It's like so different that it makes you go, oh, I kind of like that. And it's so unique too. I love the idea of it. And on the wood, it looks, I don't know, it just really pops, and it's just crazy, but I like this one a lot. I think it's fun.
Thanks. Yeah. I mean, this is one I thought that if I like silhouetted it out, might look good on a t-shirt. Yeah. That's been my latest thinking, is that like, is to create some more revenue is creating, it's just making t-shirts, making art that can go on or just like brainstorming about ways to monetize my art where I can still be creating, but doing something in more of a mass market way.
You know what I'd put that on? A tote bag.
Well,
I would put that on a tote bag. I think that would be so cool on a tote bag. I do add specialties. So, I'm
just wrapping my head around that whole idea. Tote bag.
Oh, really?
Man. I feel like I just got transported back to the 80s.
Oh, I think it would be
when everybody
cool.
carried around tote bags, and I never even thought about that. But that's an interesting.
I sell a shitload of tote bags, dude.
Do you?
Yes, they're still very popular. Obviously, they want their company logo, but this would be fun to have on a tote bag, I think.
People use them to carry their groceries out of Whole Foods all day.
Yeah.
Right? Like they're back.
They're back.
When you said tote bag, my mind went to, how everybody had those like athletic tote bags that you carry your whatever gear or whatever.
Oh, the duffel bag.
The duffel, but they were small, right? And we called them tote bags, or at least that's what we called them where I grew up.
Sure.
So I was envisioning like a tote bag. My idea of a tote bag with this on there. But I'll tell you what, Steve, I'd pay you $50 to paint my Levi's jacket with that.
Sure. It'll take a month and a half.
And in the interim, you get to wear my Levi's jacket out and about until it's done, right?
Probably breaks down like 7 cents an hour or something like that.
Right. I'm glad you mentioned this piece though, because I thought it was just great to see it, and I like how it's translucent, and I just was like over the moon over it.
Well, it's whimsical, and it brings back memories of being a kid and having water guns, and that's what they look like, right? I mean, that's what you painted, and so I mean, you could read a bunch of stuff into this, but the reality of it is this iconic image of this thing. I don't even know if there are water guns. I mean, they have these big bazooka things that Nerf makes these days, but I don't think they have like.
Yeah, no, I had to go to I think it was Etsy. I had to go and I think I Googled old-fashioned water gun or something like that. retro water gun, because like you said, all the new ones are all these, crazy plastic mechanisms, they're not the simple things that we grew up with.
Yeah.
I used to pack some heat as a water gun when I was a kid. I was always packing the Western style water gun.
I know these things these days, you could put like a gallon or two into the gun
Super
itself.
soakers.
This thing you get like 10 shots max, and then you're running back
to the sink.
Yeah,
That's
running
right.
back to the spigot or whatever to fill back up.
That's awesome.
So you still take on commissions these days, is that right?
Yeah. I'll paint anything you want me to paint. I've been hired to do. I was hired to do one commission in the exact style of my painting of women. The woman I met just started following me on Instagram and eventually hired me, and she wanted exactly like the type of image that the other, very much in line with my other paintings. So I took her up to the trampoline and we did our thing.
Is that the one, Rebecca?
Rebecca, yeah.
Yeah, that is exactly your style.
Yeah.
And then I was looking, I don't know if this one's entitled, another semi-nude woman with her hair blowing back. That's a beautiful piece.
That was very realistic, that painting, right? The hair is very realistic. Yeah. That was before, that was also kind of at the very, very beginning where I just began. Yeah. But still, like, it's an accurate representation of the photograph.
Yeah.
Versus having any real like artistic perspective here. Like, it was just copying a photograph. But I, for some reason, took to the motion of hair even then.
Yeah, it's a great piece, but it's very different from your current work for sure. It's more straightforward portrait. Again, your use of light and how you see it and how you paint it is just phenomenal, man.
Thank you.
You mentioned that circular piece, and I'm going to pull that one up real quick because that is a piece that I wanted to talk about and have you kind of describe the thought and how this all came about.
So I can almost like read verbatim the copy I wrote for the posting. A friend of mine who is a therapist was doing a journey with his therapist using psilocybin. And in that journey, he discussed, or he saw this image, this feminine image, this whirling, twirling, dancing feminine image, and she was larger than the universe. In fact, she wore the universe on a bead on her bracelet. And the story was just so moved me that I was just like, well, it was so instant to me. I was like, well, this has got to be a painting. And so it became a painting. There's not much more to it than that. Like, sometimes I hear a great story or, I get an inspiration and I'm like, well, that's a no-brainer.
It's out of this world. Like the palette and everything, it's just exquisite, man.
Yeah. The model for this one probably worked harder than any other model I've ever hired. We were in a gym here in Boulder, and I brought a trampoline. It was wintertime, so I couldn't do it outside. So I brought the trampoline into the gym, and somehow it had a missing piece. Like, I couldn't get the trampoline assembled. So this gym had all these like big blocks, and she just had to like go up and climb these blocks and jump off the blocks and go up and jump off again, and landing on the hard floor. And she just was so wiped after this. This was funny enough. The front hand, I repainted. Because I put together a bunch of different images in Photoshop. So this is the result of several different images. And I cut an arm from a different shot and put it in. And then I painted it. And then I was like, shit, it's too big. The whole arm is too big. So then I had to redo the whole thing.
Yeah, when you're compositing from different photographs, right? That would be difficult, and it'd be easy to like mess up the scale. It's one of those things where I think like you really have to spend time with it, right? And probably in the moment when you painted this arm and hand, you weren't really thinking, that the scale was all out of whack. But then you come back. It
looked right to me.
Yeah. But then you come back with fresh eyes, right? And you go, oh shoot, I'm not sure that that's right.
Yeah. One of the ways that artists use to see if a painting is accurate is they turn it upside down. and for some reason, like anything that's not right or whatever, it just pops right out. Nowadays, I find that if I take a picture of a painting on my phone, it does the same thing. Like I look at the picture and it immediately, if there's something not right, it pops right out on the image on the phone. So thank God for technology.
Yeah, there you go. There's a way of using it as a tool to help your process, right?
Yeah, and then the other way is it's just like leaving it for a few days. Like sometimes I'll round the corner to my studio and I see the painting staring at me. I'm like, oh my God, that's awful. Like I gotta fix that immediately. It's like you're the frog in the boiling water. Like you don't recognize that something's wrong.
I know, like when they're doing Renaissance paintings, sometimes, or recreating Renaissance paintings, sometimes what they'll do is use a mirror, and they'll look at them through a mirror and then go paint it, and then come back and look through it in a mirror. It's kind of interesting because it switches your brain, like just like what you said, turning it upside down. Same thing. You're just switching what your brain is seeing.
Right.
It's interesting.
Huh.
What would you say? Do you have like a standard routine when you get into the studio? Do you have a routine that you go through or that you have?
I have a standard routine. No. I mean, there's not like I get to the studio, say a prayer, and I don't have any. I mean, my studio is such a disaster. I usually probably clean up a little bit from the last session I had, but the painting is I have this table that raises and lowers. You pull a little wheel underneath and it raises and lowers that I use to, and that's like my art table. And I have a big piece of glass on top of that table. So it's probably like 1.5 feet by like 4 feet wide. And that's just my palette. I've taped, neutral gray to the bottom of it. So I, just for the sake of, determining values, but that's my palette. I don't have I have a palette that's evolved over the years that has I don't know, I could list the colors for you, but that's boring. But yeah, from there, I just start mixing the paint around on the glass. I used to use a very regimented, gridded out palette that I was taught in that class at SVA, where every like value from 0 to 10, 1 to 10. Let's say if it's white to black, and like every shade of gray in between. So there'd be 10 values of one color, then 10 values of another color, 10 values of another color. And then you mix down those sort of columns. So you never step out of the column in that particular value. And it was too tight for me. The work wasn't alive.
Yeah, that's a common way to really teach values and how colors interact with each other.
I mean, I think that palette serves a lot of people very well, but there was there's like Indian red and burnt umber and yellow ochre, and there was no real poppy purple. Like there was no way on that palette to make a purple, for instance, and purple figures highly into all my paintings. So I moved on from that. It's how I did most of the dog portraits for years and years and years. But now I'm way more interested in brighter colors like pinks and violets and oranges. In fact, I'm thinking that my next painting, I might experiment with doing all neon. All like, what's the name of the acrylics? The company that makes the acrylics, not Liquitex, but the other really popular brand. They've got a line of gorgeous neon, fluorescent paints, and I think I want to do an entire painting just with that.
That sounds really cool. That sounds interesting, man.
Yeah, I can't get bright enough. Like I want everything to like absolutely explode off the canvas.
But this is part of that evolution, right? So even though you're talking about how you learned, to make this grid of your palette colors, that taught you something. Now it's like, okay, I get to throw that away. I have that foundation. I know how that all works. Mm-hmm. Now I get to like push it into the realm of where I want to be, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, it's like, I don't know, they always say you gotta learn the rules before you can break them, I guess. I mean, a lot of people say that it's a good idea to not have gone to art school.
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard that perspective as well, because like they teach you things and then you're stuck with those ways of making things.
And it's true. I think it's a double-edged sword. Yes, you get probably this great foundation, speaking as somebody that went to art school, but at the same time, they ingrain certain things into you that, that just kind of stick, and, sometimes that can be a bad thing, that sometimes that can kill some of that creativity or some of your vision. I think for some people, art school kills that thing that made them want to be an artist,
I think they pound out certain aspects of what you bring personally, the rawness of it, and they pound it out of you saying, this is not right. You can't do this, and who are they to say?
Yeah. To be honest, I wouldn't mind going back to school. In a perfect world, if I had all the resources in the world, I would go right to art school. I'd probably go to UCLA or something to be in LA and get a great, because I know that now. I know not to abandon the things that make my art. So it would just be another tool. Getting a great education like that would just be another tool.
Yeah.
But you can still go to the Art Students League of Denver and take a class with a painting class or some other medium that you think would help.
Absolutely. Yeah. I went,
right?
I've taken a few classes there. I took a collage class. It had nothing to do with anything I do. We were literally like tearing up paper and pasting it down. And actually just before COVID, I had taken an abstract class, which I was really enjoying. I gotta take that class again, actually. Yeah, we had 2 classes, then COVID shut it all down.
How did that did that change anything in what you do, or did you have any takeaways? You're like, oh, even though I'm not going to do this particular type of work per se, I can apply this to what I'm doing. And
yeah, I mean, I think everything you do is going to help a little in a way. I mean, even that collage class, like it was so far removed, but I mean, there's just exercising, being creative is going to help. Like I had no profound, oh, this is another pivot point for me. You know what I mean? But I mean, I like the idea of moving like more towards abstract imagery and further abstracting the images that I paint now. So yeah, so there's always value in learning a different technique.
So are you like a lot of painters where you have multiple paintings going on at any given time?
Not usually, but right now I do.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got one. It's another one in the realm of my women. Very dynamic pose, very energetic. It's a trampoline shot. Her hair's blowing in the wind, but it's more abstracted than any of the pieces I've done. And that one's lying on the floor, drying as we speak. I'm almost done with that. I've got the aspen tree burning. Probably halfway done. I've got another shot of a woman's hands, and it almost looks like she's being handcuffed, but handcuffed with this like rainbow colored balls, and they're all connected together. And it was sitting on this guy I worked with's desk, and I was like, "Can I borrow that?" I'm inspired by that like object, and I want to make a painting out of it. So it's almost like her hands are being restricted by this rainbow colored string of balls.
I love the way the brain works. I love that you saw that and it inspired you to do that. So I think that's so cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I want to work with gold leaf more. I've been playing around with that. I don't think any of the work I have on my site right now has any of that. But I'm just like, whenever I see something that looks cool, I'm like, well, let's see how I can incorporate that. I mean, the water gun was a random thought. Yeah, like I said, I've been thinking of ways to monetize my work a little bit more. I want to create T-shirts that just have sayings on them. Like one of them goes back to that experience I had in the woods that says everything exists for everything else. And just have these sort of like, I don't know, call them spiritual, whatever sayings that I can, make a quick buck on.
I can appreciate that. I think a lot of artists, The smart artists figure out how to monetize in a number of different ways at different revenue streams, you know.
Yeah.
Those seem to be the most successful artists that we talk to. Is most of your work these days just your personal work as opposed to commissions, or what would you say the percentage of commissions to your personal work is?
Yeah, probably 80-20.
Okay.
My personal work. Yeah. I mean, I'll take a commission. I actually just finished a commission of a family that I just got off the easel. And like I said, I still do the dog portraits, but I really want to be painting the personal work.
Sure.
Just like all of us, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. All those commission pieces that I've seen on your various sites, they're all fantastic. Like, I think if I was going to commission somebody, you'd be my guy because you do it so well. So what is that process if somebody wants to commission you to do something, whether it's their dog or their horse or their family? Is there a process you go through, and how do you go about pricing something like that?
Yeah. So the process is I take my camera to wherever the subject is, and I take a million pictures. And I if it's a dog, I try to take some pictures outside. I try to bring him inside, and I use some lights. I send the client some selects. I don't send them all 700 pictures that I take. I send them like 10, and then they pick a painting, and then I'm back. Then I'm off to painting. Sometimes the dog or the person is no longer with us, so I have to rely on the photographs that the client provides, and sometimes I have to say no. It's funny how clueless like a non-artist can be about like what's a good photograph to use to make a portrait. Like people will send me pictures of a dog that's taken 30 yards away, and it's like a blur, running in the distance, and they're like, "Here." I'm just like, "Well, that's not going to fly."
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could totally see that.
Yeah, I made a mistake too. Like early when I first started doing the dog portrait, someone sent me a picture, and they were just like, "Here's all we got. The dog died." They were just like, "Really want this portrait," and I was just like, "Man." I mean, it was like red eye, like it was blurry. It was a terrible photograph, and I was like, "Okay," and I did the painting, and it's just like one of the worst paintings I ever did, and I wouldn't do it again.
Yeah, you got to do it your way. And I think that's smart. When you're taking the time to go meet these people to photograph their dog or family or whatever, do you calculate that time spent into the cost of the piece?
Well, I tend to paint somewhat large portraits. They're usually like 20 by 25 is a good sort of benchmark. So, and that takes about 2 or 3 days of work. The photo shoot takes an hour. Like that's not a long time. Going through the paintings, going through the photos takes a few hours. And I charge about $1,500. I think that's a fair price.
Absolutely. For the amount of time that you're spending.
Yeah. I mean, I'd love to get more, but that seems to be a decent price for what the market will bear.
Yeah. And you kind of figure that out over time. Like, where is that? What is it worth for you?
Right.
Because you need to make money on it. And if you're doing this commission, you're not doing your personal work. Right. So that's time away from the things that, and not that you don't enjoy the commission stuff, but it's time away from the things that you really want to concentrate on and paint.
Yeah.
And so, you got to charge.
It kind of blows my mind that there are artists out there making phenomenal work that takes them forever to do, and they're charging like what's comparatively like a pittance for it. And I'm just like, you've got to charge more. Like that took you forever, and it's gorgeous. I mean, maybe it's in general, like artists tend to have like less of a business sense. I don't know if that's that's probably a generalization, but I mean, I have a terrible business sense. But I think have a sense for what I want to get from my work. I mean, my work's not cheap.
Well, and nor should it be.
Yeah.
How do you go about pricing like these nudes and stuff? Do you have a formula that you work off of, or?
No, I know artists have like they do a square inch thing, and I guess that works for them. But I mean, I charge what the time I spent working on it, and I also charge based on what I think the quality of the piece is. You know, sometimes I'll do a piece and I'm like, is this my best work? Like, maybe not, and I'll price that in. There's not a lot of my work, like the work that you see on my site. Like, I'm proud of all that work, and I think all that work is priced appropriately.
Yeah, I think so too, from what I saw.
Yeah.
And then like with the commission stuff, is that people finding you off like social media, or is it word of mouth from other commissions that you've done previous? How does that work typically?
Oh, it's all of the above. There's no single channel that is like the channel. You know, like it's not, oh man, I thank God for Instagram. It's the only thing I get portraits from. Like it's word of mouth, it's handing cards out, it's posting stuff on Instagram, it's posting stuff on Facebook. You know, it's a hustle. You know, I go to dog shows. I go to dog parks. I just got a dog, so I'm in dog parks a lot. So more often it's the analog way. It's the word of mouth way.
Well, I want to commend you, because when I met you, you actually had a business card on you, and I can't tell you how many people, how many artists don't have business cards. And that's one of our big things from another artist friend of ours. But yeah, you had business cards on you. So kudos to you for having something to hand to people. That analog way still counts, like you said.
Yeah, you'd think I'd be better at this, having an entire career in advertising like I've had. But yeah, it's always a challenge to find the market, to find the eyeballs, to find the art shows that are worth being a part of is another thing that I'm learning about. Like, is being more, you know, you want your eyeballs, and like there's no such thing as getting bad eyeballs on your work, but you also have to pick and choose. Like, I was in the Aspen Art Festival 2 summers ago, and I thought I hit the big time. I was like, this is the Aspen Art Show. There's going to be billionaires walking around looking to buy art. The art show was just like every other art show. You know, there was lots of arts and crafts, and there's lots of like butcher blocks, and there's a lot of nature photography, and there's like, you know, robots made out of tin cans and stuff. Like I expected like a super like high end curated approach to that art festival, and it just wasn't. It was just like the art festival that you come across like on a summer afternoon in Denver.
I mean, because it's Aspen, you probably thought it was going to be next level, right? Like, you weren't going to see the artsy craftsy stuff that you see other places or whatever.
Right. Yeah, I thought I was gonna cash in. I sold one painting within the first 20 minutes of the festival. I sold to another artist, another person who had a booth at the show. And I thought, oh man, 20 minutes in, I already got a painting sold. Like, I'm gonna clean up. And that was the last painting that sold. And and thank God I sold it, because the festival would have been a bust otherwise.
Yeah.
So like approaching, you know, where I apply to art shows with a discerning eye is something I'm learning, because it's not gonna be worth the effort a lot of times.
Yeah, you know, the drive to Aspen and loading up everything, and you know, you could be home painting.
Exactly.
If it's going to be a bust, right?
Yeah. If it's not too much effort, I'll hang anywhere. But if I'm gonna like put a Herculean effort, like getting up there and bringing every piece of artwork I own with me, you know, now I'm trying to be a little bit more careful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
I didn't see on your website, and maybe I missed it, but do you sell prints of your paintings?
I do. I usually sell them, like wherever my work is showing, I'll be there with the prints.
Okay.
Yeah, but I haven't done the e-commerce thing yet on the site. I run all the prints myself. I bought a good Epson printer, and I print on 13 by 19 paper.
Nice. I think that's really smart. Yeah.
It gets pricey paying for those prints at a printer.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, it's still not cheap doing it yourself, especially with a higher end printer and ink cost and all that. But still, at least you can figure out what your pricing should be based on your materials, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm charging $50 for a print, but I mean that, the profit margin there is the highest, obviously.
Right.
Yeah. And you could sell them infinitely. So that's ideal.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely. And $50, I think that's really reasonable, especially for that size.
Yeah. I feel like prices for prints are all over the place. I see people charging $25 and I see people charging $150. There doesn't seem to be that much of a variation in the quality of the print to warrant that price fluctuation. So it's kind of like charge whatever you feel like charging.
Yeah. Well, it's probably just trying to figure it out.
I think anytime you have something that that you're offering that's under $100, I think it's kind of a slam dunk. Like people are willing to pay under $100 for a piece of art all day long. We've talked to multiple artists that that's kind of the happy place for people that don't have money to spend. Maybe they don't have $5,000 to buy a painting, but $100 if they really like it, they'll part with $100. And at 50, what you're charging, I would think all day long.
Do you do any studies first of smaller pieces, like when you're working on a big piece, or do you just go from the photograph to the big painting?
I go right in. Yeah.
We've had people that they'll start off with a little 5x7 study and get it worked out, and then kind of gradually work up to the big piece. And they painted it 5 times by the time they get to the big one, and and it goes pretty smooth.
Yeah, I mean, I know that doing studies is a traditional approach to painting that I guess I would have learned in art school. But I go right in. I mean, I do a lot of compositioning in Photoshop and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't put any paint down on any preliminary anything. I go right in.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting how you're utilizing Photoshop, that you're taking all these photos. I mean, I guess that's your sketchbook, right? You take reference photos and then you bring it into Photoshop. And if you have to, you composite it or whatever to get what you visualize in your head. So I think that's an interesting way that you're using technology, where, like Wes was saying, where people might do 5 studies before they hit the big canvas. You're already doing that in your head and on the computer screen.
Well, then what I use, and I don't know who's going to poo-poo this, but I use a projector, and I project the image onto the canvas, and then I trace the image.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I could arrive at the same place if I were drawing it, but it would take me hours and hours of correction and mistake longer to get there. So it's just a time saver.
Yeah. Well, and it works. I mean, that's part of your workflow. And I don't think you mentioned that people might dislike that method or whatever, but we've talked to plenty of artists that do the exact same thing or some semblance thereof.
Yeah.
So.
And I do like to, on occasion, I will just paint. And I'll draw with the paint. Like I won't even do a drawing first. And I like how that comes out. But those tend to be smaller paintings. Like I won't go in with a 4 foot by 4 foot painting. Because also, like, you're using tons of paint. Like the painting I'm working on now, I was like, my God, I have thrown so much paint on this canvas. This painting is already worth $500 just in supplies.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Going back to the whole projecting thing, isn't that what Vermeer did? Isn't that what they discovered? Is he was doing camera obscura and in a dark room on the backside of it and painting from there. So
yeah.
Been doing it for hundreds of years.
People argue that the grid method would be cheating, but silly.
Yeah,
it is silly. It doesn't matter, because when somebody's walking to the gallery, the last thing and myself included, the last thing I'm thinking is, did they do a study of this? Did they project it? I mean, I'm not thinking about any of that, and neither is the passerby that happens to walk into a gallery. None of that goes through the thought process.
You know what is a pet peeve of mine, though, is seeing pencil marks underneath the painting, like seeing the drawing marks underneath the painting.
That would irritate me too.
Yeah. In fact, I noticed it in places like, so last year Well, to back up to LA, so the reason why I got so enthralled with LA was because I met up with a guy who had a booth at the LA art show, and he liked my work. And I got into the LA art show, which is just bananas because like my work was alongside work from artists that have been doing it for a million years. I mean, the top galleries were at the LA art show. And it was just such a wild fluke that I got my work up in there. It was so great. So walking around at that art show, you know, you'd see works being sold for $15,000, $20,000 a pop. And like there's like pencil lines like on the work on very like exact like hard edged work where like you wouldn't expect to see, or you know you wouldn't expect to see pencil lines, and that would bug me.
That would totally bug me.
Yeah.
So the whole LA art show, that was a juried show, or how did that work as far as getting into that?
You know, the guy who I connected with, his name was Josh Universe, and he was an artist himself. And I don't know how he got in there, but he did. I mean, it wasn't like he even owned a gallery. I don't think he owned a gallery anyway. And everybody else there were like galleries, you know, really like world renowned, like you know, galleries with exceptional reputations. But yeah, he got in and he liked my work, and he brought me in with him.
Nice. And what kind of feedback did you get on your work when you were there, being in a different market?
Yeah, great feedback. People really loved my work. I mean, people in general tend. I mean, women particularly really like my work. But thus far, the people that see it aren't the people that got $5,000 in their pocket to buy it. It happens once in a while, but you know, tapping into that the rich market is what everyone's trying to tap into. And so It's always the hardest market to reach.
Yeah. And finding where your audience lies, right? Like that's the hard part. And even more so with the work that you do, because it's so specialized, and it's a certain person that's going to gravitate towards it, right?
Yeah.
You know, Wes and I obviously love it, but you know, not everybody's going to want to put a nude in their house or what have you. So yeah,
it's not decorative, you know, it's not a moody abstract that you can hang anywhere.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And, you know, you got to have the right decor or whatever, but your pieces are so unique, you know, and I could see it like that's the prime piece that sits in this particular room. If I had a bunch of money sitting around, man, or if I hit the lotto, I'd be a buyer. But yeah, where you're going with this, and I just saw this post, and I'm gonna pull this up real quick. You were talking about more abstract, and this is on your Instagram. This is your latest post.
Oh, right, there it is. Yeah, exactly.
This is the piece that you were talking about?
Yeah, I forgot that I posted on Instagram. Yeah.
This one is flipping phenomenal, man. I mean, it is out of this world. And it's almost done, or?
Yeah. I mean, you're looking at it probably 75% done.
Okay.
Yeah, but you see that left arm there, like it's like falling apart, and that's what I'm going for. You know, I like that it's barely there. I mean, what you don't see on the other side of that is a hand that is actually well rendered. So attached to that very abstract arm is a well rendered hand. So it kind of pulls it back from falling apart.
Wow. I love it. I love the palette. I love everything about this. Like, if this is the direction you're moving to, I think you're definitely on the money. Like, this is going to resonate. Like the other ones, just seeing the evolution and seeing what you've been doing, and then seeing this makes total sense to me. And I think with this work, you will find a wider audience incorporating that abstract that you mentioned before, and how you really enjoyed doing more abstract oriented work.
Yeah.
Yeah. This piece is going to sell.
Amen to that, brother. Yeah.
I'm telling you, man. Oh my God. I can't wait to see this. I'm ultra excited to see the finished piece.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this one too.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, this is an example, like we were saying, like, all right, what am I going to do different here?
Yeah.
Yeah. See those pencil lines in there, though, they got to go.
Yeah. I mean, if I saw that, if that was like if you left that and that was the finished piece or whatever, and I saw that, I'd be like, oh, why did you do that? Right. But yeah, I love what you're doing with, that's not a palette knife that you're using. What did you have in your hand there in that video?
No, so I had board, like backing board that I use like for my prints.
Uh-huh.
And I just cut it up into a bunch of different size squares. Because I just liked the square shapes that it made. Like the palette knives didn't have quite the squareness that I wanted to achieve in this painting for some reason.
Well, I love the shapes that you're getting, and yeah, I can't say enough about it. I can't wait to see it when it's finished. But this is a great video. If you're listening, you got to go to Steve's Instagram. It'll be like near the top, but it's the latest post that he has on his Instagram of this work in progress. Phenomenal.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. Yeah.
Yeah, this one's big. It's like 44 by 46, something like that.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
See, in this piece, I could see like somebody buying it because of what it is and how you're doing it. It'll sell.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right.
I believe in that so much, I'd almost be willing to wager money on it.
Well, it will be for sale, so you can also just buy it.
There you go.
Are you working on any kind of gallery representation? Or are you more just like still just getting your stuff out there, like you said, in any place you can show?
I shoot emails all the time, everywhere. I'm on Instagram all the time, so whenever I see a new gallery gets fed to me, I check them out. There was an art festival I was considering doing down in Santa Fe, and I asked the whoever was organizing it to send me a list of exhibitors, and I ended up deciding not to participate in that show. But in that list of exhibitors are a bunch of galleries, and just like wherever I can pull another name of a gallery from, I'll reach out to them. And it's just like cold calling. Like 99% of them don't respond, but every once in a while, you get a hit. I had my work down in Austin for a little while, but actually that was because I walked into the gallery. Like I walked in and introduced myself, and they liked my work. I was just thinking about these art festivals that have been like Basel and the LA Art Show. And I never see anything at these art shows that is like, oh, that's junk. Like it's all got merit. Like it's all good work. Especially Basel. Like I was just blown away. And every venue I went to was just, the work was absolutely incredible. And even if it wasn't something that I gravitate to, I was like, well, I know why it's here.
That's interesting because I've seen enough stuff on either the internet or on TV that makes me question some of them, because it's like, what the hell is this? In fact, I think you have one on your Instagram page of what looks like intestines.
Yeah. I mean,
so why was that worthy of being there? Why was that worthy of being there?
It was executed well, and it was beautifully done. I mean, to see it in person, it was like gross and beautiful at the same time.
All right.
You can find a nugget in all of it. Did you guys see the ATM machine?
Yeah.
Yeah. That must have been a trip.
Brilliant piece of art. Like engageable art. And it also like highlighted like everything that's like wrong with that art fair and wrong with our society. And at the same time entertained everybody who got to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was brilliant.
Did you have to pay a fee to put your card in?
I don't think so. No, you just put in the card, and there was a camera that you couldn't see, but it took your picture and then it displayed your bank account, what was in your bank account next to your picture.
That's crazy.
Yeah, some guy had $9 million in his checking account. Like, who's got $9 million in their checking account?
Right. That's just silly.
Like, it's not even important for him for that money to be invested somewhere.
Right. That's just walking money.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Easy.
This has been a great time, man. Anything that you want to promote or that you're looking forward to in 2023 here that you have coming up?
Yeah, I mean, I just applied for an art show called The Other Art Show that's in Chicago. If I got accepted to that, I'm going to throw all my stuff in a truck and drive out there. I'm really trying to expand beyond Colorado, as well as being Colorado is important, of course. But I just think that there's bigger things going on in other places as well that I want to be a part of.
I think that's smart, especially for the kind of work that you do to look outside. I totally see your stuff in Santa Fe, especially this abstract piece.
Yeah.
I could totally see that.
The other one is Scottsdale, Arizona. There's a couple galleries I've been to down there. I think your stuff would fit in really well. And I don't remember the name of them just because my wife and I were visiting my daughter and we took the afternoon and went to Scottsdale and walked through all the galleries there. And there's some stuff that would fit perfectly and your style would fit beautifully in.
Really? That's one place I haven't begun to look at.
You should check out Scottsdale, even just virtually,
Yeah. Yeah. I want to get there. I'm going to start doing road trips. I want to get down to Santa Fe. I want to get to LA again. I want to get to Chicago. I don't think there's any replacement for walking into a gallery in person. Like the cold emails just are not that fruitful.
Yeah, it's too passive.
Yeah.
Have you explored Colorado Springs very much?
No, I know there's is it G44 that's down there? Yeah,
there's a bunch of, they have a really great art scene down there. And you definitely should take a day and go explore the galleries that are down there and see if you would be a good fit or see if you feel like that it would be a good fit for you. But yeah, easy day trip. I think you might get some bites down there. I'd definitely go explore it.
Nice. Yeah, I know Michael Dowling is at G44.
Yeah, in fact, his show is still up there. But yeah, Michael shows at G44, and that was a great show. Man, I can't thank you enough for spending time with us this evening. It was a great conversation.
Well, in the spirit of the conversation, I did do a microdose before I got on with you guys.
Well, there you go. There you go.
I've been asking this question to all the artists that we've had on as of late. Do you have any mantra or motto that you live by?
Oh, man. Do I have a mantra? I have mantras I don't think I want to share, but I do have mantras that are part of my ritual every morning. I do sit and I meditate every morning. Every morning that when I'm being good about it, I do. And there are mantras involved there. There's prayer involved there. Something that's kind of new in my life, but it feels powerful and potent. I think there's a reason people do it. And it's not prayer that is denominational in any way. Like, I don't subscribe to any church or organized religion in any way, but it's just it's a prayer that expresses gratitude and asks the universe for what I'm looking for in life.
Nice.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. Manifestation, right?
Yeah, right. Put it out into the universe and ask for it. But also gratitude, like be thankful for the things you have.
Right.
We're pretty lucky people. We're all white men, in a world that is pretty rough on anyone that isn't a white man. So, that alone is reason to be thankful.
And the fact that we live where we live and we're able to do what we do.
Right. Yeah. And we have the resources to even consider spending a lot of time on our art. Like, how lucky are we for that? Like, most people there are a lot of people who just have to spend every week, their moment of their day earning money or,
just surviving, right?
Surviving. Exactly.
Well, I'm definitely grateful for this time we've had tonight to meet you and talk about your experience and your journey through art and your other experiences. And thank you so much. It was a great time and I loved it.
Well, thank you. It was really a pleasure talking with you guys. And seemed like we went down plenty of rabbit holes, but like that's the fun part, I guess.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Again, follow Steve on Instagram at Stephen Morrell and check out his stunning work at his website, stevemorellart.com. You can find all this and more in this week's episode notes. For the Tenant Podcast, I'm Todd Pearson.
And I'm Wes Brown.
Have a great week.